Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the next video in the series here of Tierlist. So today we're going to do light. In this video I go a little bit more in depth on every unit because there's less light units than the other colors. So it'll be a little bit longer. So a little background on me. Like I said, I'll do this every Tierlist video. And then Veritas, one of the top guilds on the global server. I've been in late game PvP for a long time. I've completed all the PvE content and I farm it pretty fast at this point, depending on what I'm trying to do. So, yeah. Don't want to rant on this too long, but Eaton wasn't available in the thing, so he's not pictured anywhere. I will pin what I think about Eaton in the comments. I think he's awesome, but yeah, I guess with that being said, let's just go ahead and transition over. Alright, so here we are. This one was a lot... It was easier and harder to do at the same time to do than the actual red, blue, and green. So, this is what I got for PvE. This one's going to be a little bit different, obviously, because there's really no hunt that... Like, Asymanic Hunt isn't just catered to you bringing light units, like you can. And some of them are good for it, but there's like ice units, they're objectively the best things to use in Wyvern. Like, that's not really the case for light going into Asymanic. You don't get a real... Like, you get elemental advantage, but not to the point of, like, you have to bring an all-light team. So, that's why I didn't put anything in S, because there's really no light unit that just excels in PvE. Not really. I mean, there's some that are okay, but other than that, not really. So... Since there's a lot less units and it's pretty easier to cover, like a lot of these units are good at a couple different things. And I think the more things they're good at, I put them a little higher up. And then like, if you like the unit and want to use it, it's kind of in B, and then C and D, you know, same as always. I probably wouldn't use it much in PvE. I mean, you can if you want, but I don't know why you'd want to. So, obviously there's nothing in S here. So we're going to go down to A. J. Kisei, and the reason I put her in A for PvE is because she is decent in A11. She can be used in B11, like if you really want to. But mainly I put her here because her skill reset is actually pretty good in Abyss. I don't know how she performs in Raid, but like, I'm pretty sure J. Kisei's decent for Abyss, and she's a decent farmer as well. So... she's decent at doing multiple things, and that's why I gave her an A for PvE. Is she better than Vildred or somebody? No, not even close. But for what she is, she's a PvP unit. Most of these units are PvP. Like, there's not really any light unit that's just amazing at PvE. So, yeah. A isn't even good here. Not really. Then I have Araminta here is because she is pretty good in Raid. She has decent morale. Her damage is pretty good. You can use her in some of those Abyss stages. The CC in Abyss is really nice to have, because a lot of those stages have a lot of ads and stuff. So I can see her being pretty useful in Abyss, and I know she's pretty good in Raid with a decent morale. So that's why I put her up in A. I mean, is she amazing? Not really. She was probably S before her nerf, like just because of how good she is in Raid, but after losing an entire burn, not as great. And I have Carmen up here because she brings immunity. Immunity is like really nice to have in a lot of PvE content, and some people just don't have Angelica, but manage to have Carmen. So that's why I put Carmen up here. She's good for progressing through Abyss. She's good in first level raid, getting into Hell raid. You can use her there because she brings immunity. If you like want to bring her as a front line and heal with Montmorency, it's a pretty good combo to get through that harder PvE content. And then Blaze Dingo. I got this dude here is because like he's actually a pretty decent farmer. Just because he self-sustains so well. You put him with like another farmer, you can farm any stage with 2 fodder in the game. And then like he's decent like in Abyss as well. And he's good in Raid morale-wise. He's on the highest, I think the highest morale combination team at like 47 or 48 or something. he's used there. So that's why I gave him an A. I mean, do I think he's a great unit? Not really. But that's why he's up here. And then we have Purgus here, who's another really good morale option. He's also a really good option for tanking Wyvern 11. Like, if you have the gear for it and you're trying to speed up runs. Because he also brings an attack buff for your team. So, that's why I gave him an A. Just because he's good at those two things. And Watcher Shuri, like, the only reason I really gave him an A is because he's in the fastest one-shot Banshee team. And I talked about that in, what was it, the green video? Like, if you have a decent stats and a higher level Iron Fan, you can one-shot Banshee with him, like, super fast, and not have to worry about any animations or anything. It's, you know how defense break one-shot comps always have that 15% chance to fail. But if you have a correctly built Watcher Shuri and a correct comp, you can 100% speed clear Banshee without fail. So that's why I put him here. That alone was enough to give him A. I don't think it was enough to give him an S, personally, but yeah. And then going down to B, it's just other stuff. I mean, if you want to use this stuff, use this stuff. Spez, he's not a great DPS unit, but he's still a DPS unit. And that's the same can be said for Marissa and like Guider Aether. Guider Aether is... Like, with his special equipment, he's a little bit better. He brings attack buff and stuff. But that's about it. And then Ricorous is here because he's okay in Asmanic 11. He's just okay. He's not fantastic. And then I put Ruel and made Chloe here's because, like, if you pull them and you want to use them, you can. But for PvE, it's not great. I mean, you can use them if you want to, kind of thing. It's not going to hurt you. It's probably not going to help you, though. So, it really depends. For those more difficult stages of Abyss, where the content is really difficult, it's nice to have a revive there. So, if you want to put them on your team as a secondary healer and do it like that, then I could see them being useful there. But other than that, not really. And then I also have Silk in B because she could be a decent option for Abyss. Kind of like how Lidica really helped me clear through Abyss with her CR manipulation. Silk kind of has the same thing in her S3. And CR manipulation is really strong in tougher PvE content, so I think she could be okay there. And then I kind of talked about Guider Aether a little bit. It's kind of like a pseudo healer that DPSs, and he can bring attack buff now, so he's actually pretty decent. Like, for just game progression, you can probably use him in Hell Raid fine, and you can probably use him in several stages of Abyss just fine. So he's just okay. And then Marissa, with her buff, she's not bad. Excuse me. She's a pretty safe DPS to build with her evasion mechanic. Like, she's not at risk from getting one-shot and stuff, and she still puts out decent damage. So that's why I put her here, really. And then Elson and Doris are here because they're just healers. Elson's a lot better now than he used to be. Before, I probably would have put him C or D even. But, like, his buff, I bumped him up a bit. And then Doris, she's just alright. She's an alright healer. Do I think she'll be great, like, late game if you're building her early game? Say, like, you pulled her early game? Probably not as great as building, like, a Katie's or Angelica or Montmorency. Like, Montmorency just outshines the shit out of her. So, she's just okay. I mean, if you want to use Doris, then Doris is okay. And then Gloomy Rain's here because Gloomy Rain's good. A lot of things apply debuffs and stuff. And she's immune to CC. So there's just like areas in Abyss and Raid that she's pretty good at. And then Ricorous is whatever. But down to C, Sage, Bale, and Sazan here does nothing in PvE. His damage sucks. And he does nothing. Like, he could be D, to be honest. He doesn't fucking do anything. Then Celeste, she's alright. I mean, she could be used as a farmer. But that's about it, I think. I don't really see using Celeste in any other area of the game than just farming with her. You might be able to use her in A11 if you really wanted to, but I just don't think she's great in PvE. And then Fighter Maya, I love Fighter Maya, but she doesn't do anything. She's a sponge. And provokes aren't really great in PvE anyways, so whatever. And then Gunther is here, and he's just here because he's just a mediocre DPS. I don't think he's on the same level as like safety as Marissa, or like can put out the damage Spez can in a PvE situation. So doesn't make sense putting him on the same level as them. That makes sense. And then Rickris is here because do your fucking specialty change before you use him. But yeah, that goes with PvE. It's just, I don't know. It's just whatever. I know Eaton is not on here because he's not available for me to put in here. So I'll pin him in the comment. I think he's the only unit that's missing. So let's go to the next one. And here we are with offense. This was kind of tough, to be honest. Now that I think about it, like I have Blaze Dingo down here at C, but like with Ludwig, that would move him up to maybe A. So, and that's one circumstance. If Ludwig is on his team, I would probably bump him up 2 tiers. But other than that, he's not great. So going up to S, like you guys know why all these are here. Jakise, Amazing Cleave. Spez, Extinction. One-shots whatever he wants to, pretty much. Ruel is a huge fucking safety net. Maid Chloe is just another safety net. Watcher Shuri is basically the same thing as Spez, but he brings a speed implant. He's like there for cleanup, and you can Ice Area Tam with him. You do all kinds of stuff with Watcher Shuri. He's really good. And then you have your 3 light tanks here that are good for different situations. If you need to funnel some heavy dark threats, you pick Fighter Maya. If there's a good amount of debuffs with some damage, a lot of AoE, then Carmen's probably better. And then in situations where you need an attack buff to kill something off relatively quick, while tanking off some single target damage or whatever, a little bit of AoE, G-Perk's good. So that's why they're all up here. They're top tier in Guild War. And then going down to A, I mean, in a situation where you can put Araminta on a team to land some stuns and stuff, she's still decent if you want to use her. Like, she's okay with Spez. She's the only unit with 100% stun that stuns the entire team anyways. So she's good for that. Gloomy Rain is up here in A because in offense she's great if you bring her in the right spot. But there's really not much you can bring her against. So she doesn't do much right now. But if you were to run into a random Basar, Araminta, Dizzy team, then Gloomy Rain could dumpster it. So, not saying she's A in the meta right now because there's really nowhere for her to be used. But against that specific team, she's definitely top tier. And then going down to B, like, of course, Bale and Cezanne moved up a little bit because he's a strip. It's a 1 buff strip, but if you can bring him into a team that doesn't have a Fallen Cecilia on it, he can still strip immunities for you. And he could still consistently crowd control units with his S1 in between. I've used him in offense before, back before he got nerfed, and I actually really liked using him on offense because I was able to control the fight pretty easily, but he's not great. And then we have Watcher Silk, or Wanderer Silk again, mainly for her S3. If you can, and with her special equipment, it's not bad too because she strips immunity before she pushes it back. So you can effectively remove a threat for 2 turns because of the silence with her. So if you could bring her in a safe spot, she's pretty decent. And then you have Guide or Aether here, is just good all-around kit that brings attack buff. I mean, if you can guarantee him being safe, then that's great. Light units just aren't that great on offense right now. For like a sustained DPS fight, you need to end the fight really fast for it to be good because there's a lot of dark threats in the game right now that are going to focus it. So that's why units like Watcher Shuri, Spez, and Jakise are up top because they end the fight really fast. Because there's a lot of ML Kens and Arbiter Vildreds and Assassin Collies and all kinds of shit like that on defense. So a unit where you're expecting a fight to last longer just isn't going to perform as well in this meta right now as the units that are up top, if that makes sense. I mean, they're still great if there's no dark threat on the other team and you need a neutral element DPS while you're soaking the other DPS into whatever else you're using or baiting them with. So a good example would be like, say there's a Violet, a Crow, and I don't know, just some other random crap like a healer. then you're safe to bring a light unit, as long as you can make sure that Violet and that Crow are focusing on an ice and a green unit. Make sense? Not a green. An ice and a fire unit. So then you can bring an ice unit there and it's safe. In that one, like, in that circumstance. That's what I'm talking about for, like, team composition. And then C, I mean, if you're really lacking on healers, then you can bring a Doris or an Elson. It's probably okay, even though they're in C. I mean, there's just better options for heals. They don't bring immunity, they don't cleanse. So, defense buff is nice, but that's all they really bring is a defense buff. So, you're sacrificing, like, good healing and debuff mitigation for damage mitigation. For a little bit, you know. So, it's whatever. Then, Captain Icarus is just lackluster. If you want to use him on offense, I mean, you can. There's nothing, like, terrible about using it, but it falls in the same thing I was talking about those units up in B. You got to bring them in a very specific thing that you're not going to run into very often. And then, like I said earlier when I first came to this page, Blaze Dingo, if you're just using him as a healer, he's trash, but if you're using him to set up Ludwig, he's probably up there next to Araminta. And then D, do your specialty change. But that's really it for offense. Now, defense is was a little difficult for me to, I have no idea who that is. Defense was a little bit more difficult for me to think of. I mean, obviously, Arowell made Chloe and Carmen are up top. Carmen not so much in Guild War, but more so Arena to deter Cleaves. But for Guild War, I'd probably drop her down to like B, to be honest. But for Arena, she's still really good. And then Arowell and Maid Chloe's, I would say they're S tier in the proper team. You know, Spez is around, Lilibet is around, but if you build your teams correctly, then you can deter Spez by throwing like Assassin Collie with them or whatever like that. And see some success with the defense. But, yeah, those are the only units that really get S for me. A, I moved Bale up because he's decent still on defense and like maybe Arena. You don't see him very often, but he still does the same thing he did before on turn 1. Unless, like, I know people say, oh, they could just bring Fallen Cecilio with them on offense and, you know, there's a chance you won't strip the immunity. It's like, who the fuck brings Fallen Cecilia on offense? I don't know where that argument came from, unless you're doing, like, Guild War. But, like, nobody uses her on offense in Arena. Nobody. And if you do, you're in Masters. Or Challenger. Like, no one does that crap, so. He still does the same thing on turn 1. He can disrupt your team and stop it from doing what it wants to do. And then Fighter Maya is here because she is very fat. And she can hold night things. And she's pretty decent on Elbrus, too. She can hit pretty hard, so she is a good defensive option. G-Perg deters AoE, kind of. I mean, he doesn't really offer much more than that. But, like, I would say he's probably better earlier tiers of PvP than, like, Champion Plus. You won't see him very often up there, because he doesn't bring much to your team other than push your team ahead. But usually your team just dies anyways, so getting that CR push doesn't do much. I mean, if you were to use him in a circumstance with, like, a Maid Chloe on Water's Origin, or a Arowell with Water's Origin, to where both of those things procced in conjunction with his CR push, could be pretty good there. And then B, J Kisei can still be built fast, but no one's going to attack a J Kisei and not have immunity on. So it's just not great. And you can set up Spaz on defense to be okay. You can set up Era on defense to be okay. And they do whatever. You can set up Silk on defense with her S3 equip that strips and then silences. It will take out a dark threat. So, yeah, if you really wanted to. People in my guild, or I forget who exactly it was. I don't know if it was Patrick or who. Someone in our guild used Washer Silk, or maybe it was Rikazo. I don't know. It was one of them. And they were actually getting successful defenses with Wanderer Silk on defense in like top 10 Guild Wars. So she's okay if you want to use her. Because people don't really know how to deal with her, really. Because she's going to hit something and remove it from play for a bit. Like, unless you're outspeeding it. So, it's pretty good for that. And Guider Aether is just average still. He's kind of, I think he stayed B the entire time. I mean, you might be able to move him up to A for Guild War, but I don't think so. He's just your average unit. And then Marissa, like a lot of people are really liking her on defense. I don't think she's great. SSB with her drink really doesn't give a shit about you dodging. So keep that in mind. And then Ricorous, he has some CC. That's about it. He doesn't do much. And then C, Watcher Shuri is heavily baited in the Sven, so he's just terrible on defense. Celeste just feeds SSB at this point. No one's going to attack your Gloomy Rain with an Araminta, so she's not going to do anything. Gunther is a meme. So if you want to throw Gunther Lilius on your defense to try and meme people, I mean, that's all you're going to do is meme people. And then your 2 below average healers over here that are still here. And then Ricorous and D, do your specialty change. And then Blaze Dingo is literally toilet paper on defense. Fucking, he could get breathed on and he would die. Like, yeah, don't use him on defense. He's that bad. That's why he's behind Ricorous. I think unspecialty change Ricorous is better than Blaze Dingo on defense. Put that in perspective there. So that's going to conclude this. I figured I would do light and dark separate. I just think it was better that way. Makes it a little bit easier. And it allows me to extend the series a little bit because I don't mind doing these. I like going through and talking about all the units because it's actually refreshing my mind a little bit too. Because I still make mistakes and sitting here and going through all the units and talking about them is helping me as well. So that's cool. Well, with that being said, if you guys enjoyed this, drop a like. Let me know what you think in the comments. Yeah, that's about it. Peace.